Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and welcome to TrustHab webinar number 6. My name is Gemma Bissell. I'm the marketing manager for TrustHab, and joining me today is our product manager, Giulio Buccieri. Today's topic is, what are your HVAC metrics telling you? So one of the biggest benefits a facilities-based IoT solution provides for properties is continuous monitoring of device and equipment activity across one or multiple properties, which can be viewed from a centralized dashboard. So when we say device or equipment activity, what exactly are we referring to? Well, in addition to monitoring things like ambient temperature and humidity levels within residences, our reporting software is also monitoring the behavior of every single HVAC unit within a building. So things like how long the unit has been running for, or how long it's taken the unit to reach a particular temperature, just to name a few. Being able to track this kind of actionable data provides extremely valuable insight for property and maintenance staff. And today we're going to talk about why that is.
Thanks, Gemma. Yeah, like she said, I'm Giulio, product manager here at TrustHab. And in case you aren't familiar with the TrustHab platform, we're a facilities IoT solution purpose-built for student housing, senior living, residential, and commercial MDUs. Our platform utilizes IoT-driven smart devices to push actionable data back to property staff, allowing them to remotely identify when a potentially risky condition is present within a unit. Our solution empowers management teams with a more efficient way to manage vacant units and provides a proactive approach to maintenance problems, which enables them to significantly reduce costs and increase their overall NOI. If anyone's interested, we have a number of different use cases available for download for free on our website, so you can see some examples of how we've helped properties across the country reduce their costs and increase property NOI. Be sure to also check out the library of how-to videos available on our site, which are a collection of 90-second tutorial clips on the many different features available within the platform.
So for those of you with us today that are in the property management industry, you're probably already aware of two things. An HVAC unit breakdown or malfunction is most commonly discovered when a disgruntled tenant calls down to the main office to report that their unit is either not cooling or heating. So typically it's a reactive approach. And secondly, HVAC repairs or replacements are some of the most costly maintenance-related expenses to hit your budget, especially if the problem has existed for a prolonged period of time without being addressed. So obviously, the longer the issue goes undetected, the worse it becomes, and therefore the more expensive it is to fix. So wouldn't it be great if property staff did not need to wait for tenants to report issues with their HVAC units, and maybe they had a way to proactively anticipate a potential problem in the very beginning stages? So the good news is, with a facilities-based IoT solution like ours, this is completely possible.
Yeah, definitely right, Gemma. And we've been helping property management and maintenance teams find their most problematic units as quickly as the first full day after an installation. Most properties that are coming onto our platform have had zero visibility into their HVAC's efficiency, other than whenever they got a resident complaint. With our platform, you can quickly see which units need your attention. They might be running excessively, have multiple short cycles, they're not able to achieve their set point, or even sending the temperature in a unit in the opposite direction than it should be going. We've seen retrofits on properties where management's able to see which units likely have wiring issues. The big point to remember is these issues, the issues we uncover, were all present already on the property before they installed our solution. So these issues have been ongoing without report for who knows how long. If you don't have visibility into your HVAC's usage and efficiency, you're likely shoveling a good amount of profit right into the fire. Our platform gives you that visibility and allows your teams on site to work more efficiently and proactively instead of having to wait for residents to report problems once they become serious issues.
Thanks, Giulio. So as our internal team and our partners know, the analytics portal is considered one of the most important components of the TrustHab solution. So this is where users have visibility into how each HVAC unit is behaving and allows them to proactively pinpoint any units that seem to be requiring attention. But what kind of HVAC related data would indicate a potential problem? So Giulio is going to give us a more in-depth look.
Yeah, so some of the biggest ones that we see are runtimes and cycle times. The platform aggregates these as well as several other metrics. Right when you log into the platform, you're able to see on the dashboard the runtime of all your units plotted against the property average. This is what I mean when I say properties literally see actionable results the day after an installation. With the dashboard, property managers and maintenance supervisors are easily able to see their property or suite of properties from a macro view, which allows them to rapidly understand which devices and units may need maintenance intervention. As with all parts of the platform, the location breadcrumb plays a huge role in this feature. You can tailor the breadcrumb on the fly to your liking, allowing you to see values in the dashboard from as wide a scope as your whole portfolio of properties to as narrow a scope as just a particular property, building, or unit. In the device status table, you can quickly see all your deployed devices, as well as any devices reporting critical alerts. You can quickly link to those alerts just by clicking the value. In the status pie charts, all your deployed thermostats, current modes, and running statuses are aggregated and shown here to allow you to rapidly discern if any widespread mode changes need to be made. This is very useful when you get an unseasonably cold or warm day, as you can tell how many units are set to a particular mode and then decide to perform a bulk edit to change modes if needed. Other than these top level statistics, you can also get some really deep insights into your units really quickly by checking out the runtime graphs. By default, this shows the runtime for all units over the last 48 hours. You can easily see your property's average as denoted by the line on the graph. It's easy to tell which units are running extremely excessively, which helps you make decisions for where you may need to deploy maintenance resources. This widget is configurable as well, so you can change the dates and see runtime data as needed. There are also widgets dedicated to visualizing the cycle times your HVACs are averaging. Anything less than 15 minutes or more than 45 minutes is usually cause for concern, but you can again easily see which units are blowing that average out of the water. Those outliers usually warrant immediate attention to mitigate further lost energy and HVAC wear and tear. Now let's talk about the dashboard widgets for runtime and Cycledime in a bit more depth. You can see the property's average runtime on the chart, so you immediately see your high-end outliers and how much they are surpassing that average. If you need more specific points of comparison for runtime, you can drill down into the building level to get a more granular view of a unit's runtime in comparison to the other units in their building. Like with everything in the platform, you can use the location breadcrumb to tailor your view to only show the values pertaining to the property or building or unit you have selected. Once you determine the units that need further review, you can schedule teams to investigate. Usually it means these need a new filter or maybe a coil cleaned or replaced. Could also be indicative of a resident misusing the equipment, or it may highlight a set point that is unobtainable on your property. For instance, I'm down here in Orlando. If I were to set my thermostat to 62 degrees, it is very, very unlikely that I would ever be able to get my house that cool on a 90 to 95 degree day. If that's the case, why would you allow that set point? Once you're able to gain these insights on your property with TrustHab, you can then go in through the platform and easily set a nice, comfortable, obtainable set point minimum for your residents. This helps maintain your equipment and your on-site team's sanity. As for cycle time, that's a useful indicator because you can have issues on either side of the scale. If you have cycles that are excessively long, that is, of course, taxing on the equipment and likely a waste of energy for one reason or another, such as a resident running the AC with the window open, or like I said, trying to reach a set point that's unobtainable based on the current environmental conditions. Even more taxing on the equipment is if you have multiple very short cycles. On broad average, for example, down here in Florida, you want to see about 15 to 30 minutes of cooling time to reduce the temperature 1 to 2 degrees per hour. That's about as efficient as you can get. If you have a unit running multiple 5-minute or less cycles, that's like making your car drive in stop and go traffic, but you're cranking the engine each time you start again. These can significantly decrease your HVAC's life. Cycle times have also been useful when viewed in conjunction with some of the alerts on the platform. Let's say you have a unit that's running excessively, but you can also see this triggered several unit not heating or unit not cooling alerts. This may be a unit where there's a wiring issue from the HVAC to the unit. We've seen cases where old wiring that may be very stripped or even cracked causes the unit to malfunction and either run the wrong mode or not engage the compressor at all.
So insight to this kind of key HVAC data is obviously an absolute game changer for property and maintenance teams. I know here in Orlando, our HVAC units definitely get a run for their money in the summer months. So being able to pay close attention to HVAC unit activity in hotter climates is very important. I know we have a few partners here in Florida that reported an increased rate of HVAC malfunctions occurring in the summer, which of course makes sense being that residents tend to turn their thermostat down as low as possible. So on this note, while there are many different signs that can point to a potential HVAC malfunction, One of the most telling is the specific amount of time a unit takes to cool. HVAC experts say an efficient, healthy unit should take around 1 hour to bring the temperature down 3 degrees. At minimum, a unit should run for 20 minutes an hour, or ideally 30. So something else worth noting, humidity levels are often considered another very important metric when it comes to spotting risky conditions within a residence. For tenants that pay their own utility bills, it's common for them to turn off the HVAC unit altogether in an attempt to save some money, not realizing how this can rapidly create an environment that is favorable for mold growth. For maintenance staff, it's important to know that humidity levels above 65% for a 24-hour period are critical. And to successfully remove humidity from a space and avoid damage to equipment, a unit should run continuously for at least 10 minutes per cycle.
And humidity does have a huge role to play when it comes to causing damage to your properties. High humidity can cause huge issues if left unchecked, and unlike a malfunctioning HVAC that won't blow cold air in the summer, a relative humidity of 70% for a week is unlikely to cause a resident to complain to property management in the same way that an HVAC not blowing cold air would. If the relative humidity stays above 70% indoors for extended period of time, mold will almost certainly grow. Warm, humid conditions are ideal for mold growth, and most molds need temperatures of 70 degrees Fahrenheit or more to grow. But even at a cool internal temperature of 70 degrees in a unit, mold can grow in that unit if it stays above 75% relative humidity for an extended period of time. At almost any internal temperature, if humidity in a room gets close to 80, you're at a high risk for mold growth as well. So what can we do about it? With TrustHab, you can see your humidity rates in real time for all your units on the platform. You'll get alerts via SMS and email when relative humidity goes above your set thresholds in any unit. You can also use analytics to compare units in similar locations to see which units are staying more humid than their contemporaries. But all these options, of course, will point to someone on site going to the unit and investigating. Maybe it needs more insulation or weather stripping on doors and windows, or maybe the residents there just boil water all the time. However, with TrustHab, we offer a feature called humidity control logic. What that means is we recognize when humidity levels are out of bounds, and we proactively work to get that humidity out of the unit without the property managers needing to do anything on the platform. Whenever the thermostat detects that the relative humidity has reached a certain threshold, we trigger the HVAC to run an extra cooling cycle to remove humidity. Depending on your configuration settings, it can run as much as needed to get that humidity level down to an acceptable threshold. With that enabled on your property, you can be sure that all your units are at acceptable humidity levels and have peace of mind that vacant units will not turn into environments that are conducive to mold growth.
So I wanted to give another example of how comparative data analysis can be utilized to improve decision-making processes for maintenance staff. And just as a side note, the numbers I'm going to use here are only for example purposes. So let's say on the second floor of a student housing building, there are 3 separate residences, each with the same internal temperature set point of 74 degrees. In residences 1 and 2, the HVAC runtime data shows that both HVAC units run for a total of 30 minutes an hour and normally run for an average of 10 minutes per cycle in order to bring the temperature down 1 degree. However, in the third residence, the HVAC unit needs to run consistently for almost the entire 1 hour period in order to bring the temperature down that same 1 degree. Being that each of the 3 units are located on the same floor and all have the same temperature set point, the fact that the runtime data for the unit in the third residence is differing significantly is obviously a key indicator for maintenance teams that something needs addressing. And to take it a step further, what if a particular HVAC unit has been running non-stop for a period of 24 hours with the internal temperature of the residence never quite being able to reach its set point? So this is actually a very common occurrence that, if left undetected, leads to one hefty utility bill and puts any HVAC unit on the fast track to a breakdown.
Yeah, exactly. And as I mentioned previously, you can easily limit your maximum and minimum set points with TrustHab. There are times of the year in almost all regions where you're susceptible to extreme temperatures in one way or another. In the platform, they're called the cooling minimum and heating maximum, and these values dictate the lowest available temperature you can cool to and the highest available temperature you can heat to. It's not environmentally conscious, energy efficient, or necessary to heat your residence to 85 degrees on a 30-degree day or to cool it to 65 on a 90-degree day. Not only will allowing these unobtainable set points cause you issues long-term with longer runtimes attributing to more maintenance and repairs, you could also run into issues short-term with coils and compressors causing issues with your HVAC. We, of course, want to help cut down on wear and tear and energy costs, but you can also save on maintenance costs too when you can identify your problem units and limit just how cold or how hot the HVAC can go. Cooling a room to 70 on a 90-degree day will be just as refreshing to the resident as 65, and constantly saving a few hours here and a few hours there of wear and tear on your equipment really adds up and really extends the total lifespan of your HVACs.
So Julio, could you take a minute to go over some of the HVAC-centric alerts that TrustHab offers through their real-time alerting system?
Yeah, definitely. So TrustHab's real-time alerting system is definitely one of our most impactful features of the entire solution. All of our alerts are fully configurable, and you're able to select the recipients of each of these alert notifications so you can make sure the correct person is being notified about a particular issue. The excessive runtime alert by default is set to trigger after 3 hours of consecutive runtime. This is usually indicative of a unit needing maintenance, changing a filter, cleaning a coil, or the resident running the HVAC with the windows or door open, or again, trying to achieve a set point that's unobtainable. The inefficient unit alert is triggered if a unit is running for a high percentage of time. So default alert levels of that are triggered at 65% running over the last 24 hours and 80% over the last 24 hours. Percentage and time to track are fully configurable, so you can really tailor this one to the needs of your property to help call out outliers and HVACs that may need maintenance. It's easy to set it up to capture the data over the last 3 days, last week, last 2 weeks, and get those alerts in kind. The extreme cold and extreme heat have temperature-based thresholds, and the appropriate alert is fired when the ambient temperature is detected as surpassing that. The defaults on those are 60 for extreme cold and 85 for extreme heat. Excessive humidity, of course, this one's been extremely useful for our partners in helping them find units that need extra insulation or weather stripping. High humidity over an extended period of time, as we referenced, can cause major issues, promotes mold growth, and our platform will help you notify you before it becomes a major issue so you can take the appropriate measures to get those humidity levels down. For the unit not heating and cooling alerts, those are triggered if the ambient temperature in a room starts trending of where it's supposed to be. This has been useful not only in diagnosing HVACs that need maintenance, it's also been helpful for our partners in allowing them to figure out how warm or how cool their HVACs can get a unit to in practice. So no matter which one of these alerts is triggered, being able to catch and address the issue in a timely manner is what's most important. With most residents being in and out throughout the day, people don't usually have the time to sit and pay special attention to how many times an hour their HVAC unit turns on or how many minutes it's been running for. So to reiterate the point we mentioned earlier in the webinar, HVAC maintenance issues are normally only noticed when the damage has already been done, which equates to one unhappy tenant phone call down to the property management office.
Thank you, Julio. So to summarize, a facilities IoT solution can be a great way for property managers to analyze runtime data from afar, spot inefficient HVAC units, and tend to potential maintenance malfunctions before they result in costly equipment breakdowns, ultimately saving a lot of headache, man hours, and avoidable repair expenses. And also keeping residents happy by proactively addressing any issues is, of course, always a bonus too. So we hope this webinar gave you all some valuable insight to this. And of course, if there's anyone out there that would like to take a more in-depth look at our platform and learn more about the various benefits our solution provides, feel free to reach out to us and a member of our team would be more than happy to give you a demo. We're now going to take a few minutes to answer some questions that came in. It looks like we have 3 questions that Julio is going to answer for us today. And for anyone else that's still with us, there is still time to submit your questions using the Q&A feature on the screen. So the first question, what if a unit is constantly malfunctioning and no matter what maintenance is done, it still isn't fixed?
Yeah, it's a great question. So this is another great benefit of the platform when it comes to forecasting. So too often properties will create their forecast based on the past 12 months, but our platform actually informs management what units have likely reached their end of life before they do, allowing management to accurately forecast what will require replacement. And those really will get drummed up to you not only by looking in depth, but also on our automated reports that are aggregated each week. and you'd really be able to see your problem units there. And if you keep seeing the same units having the same type of problems, even after maintenance has addressed them, those are likely the ones that are closest to your end of life. So that'll help you really get a leg up on that forecasting in advance.
Okay. And question number 2, what is the most common cause of an HVAC unit running nonstop?
Yeah, so we've seen a lot of different factors that can trigger an HVAC to run extensively. It's usually because the unit's not able to reach the temperature set point, right? And this can usually be the result of a number of things. Most commonly, either the coil could be frozen over or the set point's just unobtainable. Sometimes a window that's been accidentally left open is a common reason that a unit can't reach the set point. And this is something we've actually heard a lot from our partners, which is of course a quick and painless fix. Most of that time, the property manager can just call up and get the tenant to take care of it by getting them to check and see which of their windows is open. But they're able to see all that in the platform as well if they have additional devices on those windows, and then they wouldn't even need to guess at that point. They would have that type of visibility in the platform as well.
Okay. Third question, what is the typical installation process like if we were to want to integrate your solution with our already existing HVAC units?
Yeah, so for us, retrofit is no more difficult than new construction. Obviously, it varies by property as each deployment and installation is tailored to the property's needs. But assuming the property does not yet have any smart devices installed, usually we'll perform a site survey, either in person or remotely, identify what the main objectives are for the property, and sort out what devices are needed. And then we'll map out how the installation will progress. Usually, property maintenance staff will install the devices in the resident units in advance, and our team will install the gateways and pair devices to then create the mesh network. Once that is done, all the available devices will be available to view and control from within the platform. The amount of time all this takes obviously is dependent on the size of the property and the types of the devices in the deployment. So depending on the solution, it could take as little as a day or up to a week or more. Our installation teams, of course, take all PPE and distancing measures, and we coordinate with our partners so they give residents ample notice if they prefer to be out of the residence while devices are installed or paired.
Okay, thanks, Julio. We have 3 more questions. So the next one, will these devices need Wi-Fi to function?
So again, depends on the devices, but in general, the individual devices won't need Wi-Fi per se. You will need to have some type of internet on the property. Now, that doesn't mean you need to have a Wi-Fi network that's an umbrella across your whole property. The way our deployments work is we don't need a hub or an internet connection in any room or every device. We have a gateway device, that's our proprietary hub device that up to 200 devices can connect through. As long as that device can get internet connectivity, just access to the public internet, usually we put it in a telco closet on the property that has some type of lock or climate control. And then that's the only really, quote unquote, Wi-Fi that you would need. You would just need the ability for that gateway to get an internet connection in and out of the property.
Okay. And so we had a third question that was similar. It said, does this solution require Wi-Fi overlay in the entire community?
Yeah, no, it definitely does not. So that in some cases will help, especially if it's a community where they don't have any managed telco closets. If there's Wi-Fi across the entire community, that's really helpful for us not being, really tied down where we're going to put the gateways. But it's definitely not a requirement. Again, as long as that gateway can be somewhere that we can build the network from it, and that gateway can get internet access in and out of the public internet, then we're in good shape.
Okay. Next question. Do you just monitor split systems or can you do RTUs?
So we do have an integrated device that does handle HVAC split systems, wall unit ACs, things of that nature through an IR controller. So usually those kind of set of, wall unit or window unit ACs, those obviously usually aren't wired to a physical thermostat in most instances, right? So we do have another device that we do have integrated and in use on a few properties where it's really an IR controller that we're able to send it commands through the system to change set points, change modes, do all the same things we can do with a traditional thermostat, but allow it to control those split systems, those wall units, and things of that nature.
Okay, and we have another question from the same person. Likewise, how many points are you guys monitoring and what kind of points? Just contractors or current?
I'm guessing by that you mean like, are we monitoring electricity usage? I'm not 100% clear on that. So again, it just depends on what devices you have deployed, right? Like we have a whole myriad of devices. If you're looking to track specific usage of a plugged in AC, or you want to have that type of control, there are definitely 120 and 240 smart outlets that we have integrated that can be controlled from the platform and keep track of those types of things if that's something your property would need.
Okay, so unless anybody else has additional questions, that seems to be all that we have for today. And this officially concludes our webinar. So thank you again to everyone that stuck around until the end. And if you have any questions going forward, you can always reach out to us at contact@trusthab.com. And be sure to head over to our website, trusthab.com, for more information on our facilities-based IoT solution. Also, keep an eye out for details on our next webinar. We'll be releasing those soon, and we hope you'll join us for that one too. And hope everyone stays safe.